Hi, my name is Wang Xingyu. Today, I want to show you my research about style evolution in modern Chinese fashion design, the embodiment of gender consciousness. I will explain my research to you in 4 parts. First of all, I want to show you the research background. In 1978, China began to implement the policy of reform and opening up, which allowed the country's economy to develop rapidly. At the same time, this policy has also led to the development of China's textile and clothing industry. It can be said that after the reform and opening up, China's clothing industry has undergone great changes, and the style of Chinese clothing has also changed dramatically. In this change, the gender consciousness embodied by clothing has also changed. In the traditional perspective, Chinese men wore men's clothes and women wore women's clothes, and there was a big difference between their clothes, that people could visually identify a person's gender through their clothes. However, in modern society, this seems to have changed. Therefore, this study is a research on this phenomenon to explore whether the embodiment of gender consciousness in modern Chinese clothing has changed and what the trend of this change is. In this part, I want to show you my data collection and research methods. In order to achieve the purpose of the study, this project uses the Hamper word as the object of study. The Hamper word has been here since 1993 and has been successfully heard for 30 times since then, witnessing the development of China's clothing industry and having a great impact on China's modern fashion design. In this project, 875 sets of costume images from the 30 years of Hamper words were collected and analyzed. The study used a method of semantic differential to create 3 groups of words with autonomic content to describe clothing styles. Meanwhile, a 7-level scale from -3 to 3 was used to rate the collected images. All rating data was presented through data visualization to present the results and visualize the changes in gender consciousness in clothing. About how to construct scale. The first step is collecting and screening words that can be used to describe the gender consciousness of clothing. Second, we need to categorize the collected words and form 2 sets of antonym words. Finally, we filtered out 3 groups of words. They're tight-fitting and loose-fitting, conservative and neat, masculine and feminine. This is the scale that was used by the research team to score each clothes. When the garment fits the body very well, such as a swimsuit, then the garment should score -3 if it is very tight. When the garment does not fit the body, such as oversized style garments, such garments are very loose and should be scored 3. When the clothing wraps the person from head to toe, then such clothing is very conservative and should be scored -3. For example, when a garment such as underwear covers very little skin, such as a garment is very bare and should score 3. Very masculine clothes are these that reflect masculinity, such as military uniforms, and should be scored -3. Very feminine clothes are those that reflect the elegance of woman, such as evening dress. These clothes should be scored 3. Here are the results of all scorings. The size of the squares and the shade of the color represent the magnitude of the absolute value of the score. The bluer the color, the more negative the score is, and the redder the color, the more positive the score is. In tight-fitting and loose-fitting, blue represents tight-fitting, red represents loose-fitting. When we analyze conservative and necked, blue represents conservative, red represents necked. In this section, blue represents masculine and red represents feminine. It is worth noting that many designers in the Hempel world choose to design women's clothing, so the results shown are mostly feminine. In order to reflect the trends in clothing over the past 30 years, the project chose to look at clothing with a rating in the 25% to 75% range, as this would reflect the aesthetic trends of the general public. Through observation, it can be seen that the clothing is becoming looser, which reduces the display of body curves and makes it more difficult to identify gender through clothing. And this is the trend line. The degree of nudity of clothing is more naked around 2000, while in the rest of the time it is more conservative, and after 2000, clothing is increasingly and after 2000, clothing is increasingly conservative. Conservative clothing minus the person from head to toe curve. The same increased the difficulty of identifying the gender of the wearer. Likewise, the style of clothing is gradually becoming more neutral. So, the study of 30 years of Chinese clothing reveals that modern Chinese clothing is gradually developing towards loose, conservation, and neutral. These changes indicate that the gender consciousness embodied in Chinese modern clothing is gradually weakening. It also reflects that Chinese consumers are beginning to pursue gender ambiguity through their clothing. But why this happened? For women, this may be the result of the feminist and affirmative action movements. By wearing masculine clothing, women want to pursue the same things as men, for example, social status and wealth. For men, this may be the result of the cultural trends and ideological liberation. In recent years, young and cute men are very popular in China, and many men will show their cuteness by wearing clothes with female elements to attract the opposite sex. Meanwhile, in recent years, as society has become more tolerant of homosexuality. More and more homosexuals dare to wear what they want and show their personality generously. This study is only a statistical data-based speculation on the possible causes of the phenomenon of blurring gender consciousness embodied in modern Chinese clothing. Future research should explore in greater depth why this phenomenon occurs and what causes it. That's all the research I have done. Thanks for listening.